This is Sheets, and we're going to be going over the entire card for both Kentucky Oaks Day and the Kentucky Derby Day, which is going to be Friday and Saturday respectively. And usually from time to time I will do a recording and throw it up there just if I have occasional values, but this one I am going to do live, take some questions if there are any, and hopefully give you guys some good values for the next coming 2 days. I have to kind of summarize my history in this and why I do this from time to time. As most of you know, the majority of what I do as far as gambling goes deals with daily fantasy sports nowadays. I still do pick six carryovers and things like that, and I still do horses, but not nearly as much as, well, I shouldn't say not nearly as much, but yeah, not nearly as much as I used to. And every once in a while, I will just kind of, talk about my horse racing picks for the day, but very, very rarely. But I figured for the Derby and for the Oaks Day, I figured I would go through this. Unfortunately, what I wanted to do is something I don't think I'm going to be able to do, and that is talk about sheet theory. For those of you who know, I mean, my moniker, my nom de voyage, whatever, my nickname Sheets, actually comes from horse racing, from the product known as the Sheets, which is one of the speed figure data providers that I came to use over the years, and that's kind of how my nickname Sheets came to pass. Unfortunately, I don't think it's appropriate to go and actually display the sheets for you guys because it certainly costs a lot of money and it probably violates a lot of copyright laws and things like that. So I'm not going to be able to actually show you the sheets or get too into that, but I can at least go over some concepts with you. But what this is going to turn into, more than maybe I wanted to, but listen, for those of you that are interested in this, maybe you'll appreciate this more, is it is going to turn into mostly a picks video where I go over who the top values are for every race on both cards. And let's just say that, I mean, obviously I can't promise you're going to win or promise anything, except to say that of all the things that I do, between the poker, what I used to do, and daily fantasy sports and stock market and bar exam and all the other stuff that I did, I think this is probably where you're getting the best edge from me. Now, again, it's a lot of variance in horse racing, so I can't promise you that on a daily basis you're going to win or anything like that. But I will say that we've run really, really hot. Whenever I've run these videos, we've run about like 75 levels of degrees of deviation ahead of expectation. So you could say that we're due for regression, or we could say that we just run hot forever. Nonetheless, I will say that it's going to be very unlikely that you're going to do better in the long run with your own picks or regular tout picks than what I'm going to share with you. So I guess that's something. Let me at least make this somewhat useful. I'll give you a couple of things to remember when you're betting horse racing. If this is going to be your first time doing it seriously or whatever it is, or even if you're just throwing stuff in. Number one is really make sure that you don't bet anything until like 2 minutes to post. Now it's not as important on Derby Day or on big days like this because the odds aren't going to shift all that much. But in general, you don't get locked in at whatever price that you bet. So you may as well wait to make sure that what you're betting on is at least close to the price you're actually going to get. So the longer you wait, the better. And there's no, it's not like DFS where the pools get filled, right? It's unlimited money that they'll accept. So you may as well just wait. The second thing is kind of goes part and parcel with that is all this is a value game, right? I'm going to talk about who I think are the most likely winners and whatever, but none of that really matters, okay? Really, all horse racing is, like pretty much all gambling really, is a battle for value and relative value and things like that, and discipline and all that stuff. But I bring that up only because there are going to be times where I say, okay, you could bet this horse, but only if he's this price. So it's important not to fall in love with a particular horse, but kind of fall in love with the idea of getting value, if that means anything. Okay. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go through pretty much every race and go over who I think top values are, who they rate to be, and what races you should probably be passing. Now, you're seeing the DraftKings horse racing interface, which I've never shown before because I had never used it before. I usually only use ExpressBet to make my online wagers, but I'm going to be – I got like a bonus to play on DraftKings this weekend. I'm like, okay, sure, sounds good to me. Doesn't matter to me. So I figured I may as well use their interface to display the horses. One thing I will also – I should say in advance is for those of you that have handicapped horse racing before, you're kind of not going to like, well, you might not like my style because based on what I've discovered over the years, about 95% of the inputs that people consider in analyzing horse racing are completely useless and completely misleading and just a waste of time. And when you go and you'll see more in-depth discussion on why a horse might be a good bet in a race, a huge percent of it uses terms that are just so outdated that just literally don't mean anything. And I don't want to get too into that kind of stuff, but you're just going to get really just the end of the day discussion, not even the end of the discussion, the end product of all of my work that will show that will, and then I will tell you who to bet pretty much. I'm not going to get into all the details of it. But suffice to say that about 95% of the content you'll see on the Derby and horse racing is completely wrong. And there are only about 5% of the people that 5% of the action really knows this. So that's that. So let's just go through it, I guess. So we're going to start with Friday, and this first race is a maiden race, and you'll notice that the favorite is 9-5. This is a difficult situation in horse racing in general when you have someone who's never raced before that's taking a lot of money, a first-time starter. The reason why a horse like this would or would not take money is completely based on, not completely, but it's in part based on their training history. It's in part based on their breeding. It's in part based on, following the money flow. Okay. And unfortunately, when it comes to sheet reading and sheet theory, that type of thing just can't be really quantified, So usually anybody that is a sheet player is pretty well suited to just throw these horses out. Now you could probably do better than just blindly throwing them all out, in that you should know, if you do a lot of research, what numbers or how fast a first-time starter would need to run to beat the field at hand. Okay. And yes, that is definitely a second level that you can undertake when you're using sheets to deal with these maiden races. But I've found over the years that you're probably better off just throwing them out and not worrying too much about their taking money, not worrying too much about the breeding, not worrying about, if you can't quantify it, you have two choices. One, ignore it, or just try to come up with like relative speed of what they're supposed to be able to run against these other horses. Now, with that said, there are two horses in here that essentially lay over the field, and they are the 4 Sundance Feature and also the 10 Belle of the Bluegrass. Now, you'll see here that currently you have Belle of the Bluegrass 7-1 and Sundance Feature is 7-2. But you'll also see that there's very little money in the win pool. It's 2,200 in the win pool. It's very, very early. There's going to be like 100,000 plus, by the time the race goes off tomorrow. So you don't really know if these odds are accurate. So let me just say this, that I think these two horses are equal. So if one of them is significantly higher than the other one, you should certainly bet that one. And like if it were these particular prices, 7-1 on Belle of the Bluegrass would be the key. But again, depending on how you want to deal with this first-time starter, you might just box the two of these guys together, Sundance Feature and Belle of the Bluegrass, if the exactas are paying decent, and just throw out the favorite, throw out the first-time starter. But again, these horses are running, and not to get too into it, they're running numbers that should be okay against even good first-time starters. But it's not 100% clear. You know, they're running what, like 14s and 15s, which are, I mean, you have to be a pretty good first-time starter to come out and put a 15 up like this, but it's possible. So I wouldn't necessarily, you know, dismiss the idea that Thoughtful can run well and enough to win. My style is usually just to throw these horses out, but I think the thing you should take from this is that both of these horses, Sundance Feature and Belle of the Bluegrass, are both very, very strong relative to the rest of the field. So it depends on how much risk you want to take. You could box, listen, if you want to really be wimpy, you could box all three of them. You know, Sundance Feature, Belle of the Bluegrass, and Thoughtful, just in case Thoughtful works out to be, you know, pretty good. But at these particular odds, I mean, Belle of the Bluegrass at 7-1, I mean, I find him no worse than Sundance Feature. So he'd probably be, or she'd probably be the horse that I would keep. Okay, moving on to race number 2. So race number 2, actually, I have a couple of bombs for you here. All right. So first of all, let's talk about the horse that's solid, that has a good shot, and that would be Sidamara, the 9. But the 2 other, I think, most likely winners are extremely long here. So you have 4, Promise Me an Empire, and the 8, America's Vow. Both these horses are extremely long. So if it were me, and it is me, I would really overweight the 4 and the 8 here. And in addition to that, the 9 is not that short. So again, if you want to play exactas, you could box the 4, 8, 9, and all these numbers with any of those 3 are going to pay really, really well. So I like the 4 and the 8 as really, really big long shots, and I like the 9 as kind of a solid 4-to-1 shot. So you want to box all 3 of those, great. And in addition to that, if you want to play early doubles from the first race, you could play the 4 and the 10 if you want to be aggressive, or just the 10, but 4 and the 10 with the 4 and the 8. And God forbid this hits. I mean, what's going to pay? Like 800, something like that? I mean, those are going to pay enormous amounts of money. So I would, that's what I would do. And I think you get really, really strong value there. Okay, race number 3. Race number 3 is kind of a war. I mean, you have a bunch of horses that can win here. I would not make this a big part of my portfolio. I'll just go over the horses that I think are okay here. And that would be the 1, Not Normal. Yeah, the 1, Not Normal. The 3, Prove Worthy. The 5, Injunction. The 8, Arthur's Ride. And the 10, Brigadier General. I mean, none of them are that long, so I don't think I would play this race, you know, in and of, you know, individually. You'll see that obviously Not Normal is a really, really good price, but I think that this race is probably not all too much value in general. But again, if you wanted to, again, leverage your opinions on those first 2 races, you wanted to play the 4-10 in the first race with, say, the 4-8 in the second race, or maybe the 4-8-9, and then use all 3 of these, all 5 of these, 1, 3, 5, 8, 10, and say pick 3s, pick 4s, pick 5s. I think that's okay. All right, race number 4. All right, so race number 4, I think 3 horses I think are decent values here. And again, we're going to presume that these prices are sort of okay. You have Swoop to Finish. He looks pretty good at 10-1. You have the 5 horse Justifiable Bell at 8-1. And then the Fridas the Red at 9-2. Again, obviously not as good of a price as the other 2. And I really don't think he's any better. So I think all 3 of those are really good. And again, you could box them. You could, you know, play the biggest one to win, just kind of screw around with them. Or you could actually start some new pick 3s, pick 4s, like you'll see when you go through the list of things you could play. There's basically new pick 3s, pick 4s, and stuff like that almost every race here. Now, again, as you see, I'm not getting through the why I like these horses. You're really just getting the end result of all my work. And again, I apologize. I just really can't spend as much time on the intricacies of sheet reading today without getting into trouble. So we're not going to do it. So maybe another time, if I get the sheet's permission, I can do this. But we're just going to essentially just go over who we like. All right, race number 5. This is on Oaks Day again. This race is very, very chalky. The 4, 5, and 6 are the 3 shortest prices in the race, and they are the 3 most likely winners by a decent amount. There's really no value to be had here, and I would almost certainly pass. Race number 6. This has, if this is something to talk about, race 6 has the most likely winner on essentially all 2 days of racing. If there are 13 races, race 1, and then I guess looks like 12 or so races on Saturday. 13 races on Friday and 13 races or so on Saturday. The horse that's most likely to win of all 26 races is in this race, and that would be the 2 Overcharged, I think. I think Overcharged wins this race at least 60% of the time. I don't believe that 7-2 is anything but a pipe dream. I think he's going to end up being, she's going to end up being 4-5. If in fact you do get 7-2 somehow, you should totally bet it. But aside from that, I think the horse is going to get slammed. But it's certainly the most likely winner, in my opinion, at least, of the entire 2 days. If you can get 7-2, wonderful. But I don't think that you will. The other horse that if you want, you could throw in here is the 9, Secret Money, if you want to put a horse in second. So I would go 2 Overcharged on top of Secret Money in an exacta probably. But the 2 is certainly a horse to key if you want to, if you have something coming up later. Like remember from the last race in race 5, I didn't find any good value. So it doesn't really help us there. But as you'll see, when we get to some of these later races, there are some really, really good horses that you can bet. So you can start with Overcharged here and kind of get it rolling. To that point, race number 7, I think that there are 2 horses here that are extremely strong value here, and neither of them are particularly short. You have the 2 Steel Sunshine, and we also have the 6 Tumbarumba. I don't know which one I like the best. It doesn't really matter. They're both way overpriced. Or excuse me, underpriced, I guess. I think that each of these horses have about a 20% chance to win, and you're getting 10-1 and 8-1 on them. So I would use them both in kind of multi-race wagers, and you could go ahead and box them if you want as well in exactas, whatever you want to do. So as I said, like if you want race 6, you could start with that 2 horse that I said, the Ova, whatever horse, and then you can go with the 2-6 in this race and be in good shape. And more bombs are coming up. So race number 8, actually, I think that there are 2 horses that I like quite a bit, and that would be Join the Dance, number 7, and also Be Your Best, number 8. These horses, I don't think that they're any less likely than anybody else to win this race, and more to the point, I honestly think that they both have about 15 to 20% chances to win. So if you can get even anything over 10-1 on either of these horses, I think that's extremely strong. So again, the 7, Join the Dance, and the 8, Be Your Best. Let me just, for the hell of it, just double check to make sure that that's what I want here. So this is race 8. I'm just looking at the other side. Yeah, Join the Dance. Extremely strong. Be Your Best is it a little worse? Maybe. So Join the Dance at 20-1. That's actually pretty remarkable. I don't know, Moofy's. I'm looking at these others now. Moofy's pretty good also, by the way. 8-1. So 5. What about Surprisingly is okay, I suppose. 5-1 also, but Join the Dance is very, very good here at 20-1. And Be Your Best. Let me just look at it again. Maybe Be Your Best is not as good as I thought. Yeah, let's revise this. Let's say that Join the Dance clearly the top value, and then we could put Moofy and Surprisingly along with Be Your Best as the second horse. Okay, race number 9. Hold on, race 9. Okay. Race 9, I think the 7 is kind of a lock here at 3-1. I wouldn't bet him at 3-1, really, but I definitely think he's the most likely winner. What I think you could do is you could take a shot at the exacta here. Let me just confirm that. And this is a little fishy, I guess, but let me just confirm. But Lady Moscato at 15-1, I think it's either going to win. I mean, he gets second too, but she could also finish last. But I think that 15-1 is a very, very good price for her. She definitely is very dynamic. She has a lot of upside here, and I like her. So Denim and Pearls on top of Lady Moscato, and can you play Lady Moscato on top also? Yeah, I think so. I actually think so. So Lady Moscato, Denim and Pearls, use them in exactas, use them in pick 3s, pick 4s, and whatever. All right. Race number 10. We have 2 horses that I think I like. I just double checking the numbers here. And that would be Buchu, the 4, and then also Pounce, the 6. I think those 2 are the most likely winners, and you'll see one of them, Pounce, is 10-1. So this is definitely the best value of the race. But I think the Buchu is solid enough that I wouldn't toss him. So I would play Buchu and Pounce together. And again, you want to go overweight on Pounce. I think it's perfectly aggressive and reasonable. So I do like the 4 and the 6. All right, race number 11. Is this the Oaks? This is the Kentucky Oaks, and it looks like Tappaginelli was scratched. It didn't really affect too much, but what I would say is that this race is just kind of a war. I have many horses that can win this race. I think it's a terrible race to just start betting with. I'll just tell you the horse I like here. The 8 looks pretty good. That's Tarifa. The 11 Ways and Means at 8-1 looks, I guess, okay. Power Squeeze 13-1 looks okay. 13 just FYI. 14 Leslie Rose. Our Pretty Woman. Okay, so if she gets in off the also eligible list at 37-1, I mean that's you could use that. First, make sure that she's in. But this is definitely not a race that you want to start anything with. But again, like this finishes the pick 6, it finishes the pick 5. You want to use all the horses I mentioned, like 8, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, just to be live for something. I think that's not the worst thing in the world. Now, this is one thing, is that usually the races that are after the Kentucky Derby and the Oaks are the ones that are least handicapped by everybody. So you might be able to find some good values there. So I'd like to take a look. And unfortunately, it's nothing that great here. 3, 4, 7. I like 9, 11. Yeah, so nothing really here to think about. But it is important to look because no one else is doing it. Race 13, pretty chalky. I did like Chilled. The 6 and the 7. So if you want, like if you're losing all your money on Friday and you're really steamed and you lose the Oaks and you just want to get even, you play the 2 with the 6 and the 7 maybe, or just box the 6, 7 in race 13 that nobody's playing. So was this race 12? No, this is race 13 that nobody's playing, and that's that. So there's actually quite a bit of value on Oaks Day, and actually one of my biggest hits ever was hitting the pick 6 on Oaks Day, which not that many people spend much less time on Oaks Day than on the Derby. But Oaks Day there's a whole bunch of casuals there. You get really, really good odds and really good values, and I think you're going to be in good shape. All right, let's go now to the Derby Day. Advanced Churchill Saturday, and you can bet some of these races now. If you've been following what I've been saying, you realize that you shouldn't be betting them now. But You could if you wanted to. All right, so race number 1, I actually have 2 horses that I think are equal, and that would be the 1 Heaven on Earth and the 5 Lose Legacy. So his morning line on Lose Legacy is 6-1, and this is what kind of like led me to him. But you can see already that he's taking money. But then again, when you look deeper into this, it's not any real money. It's $645. So let's wait before we dismiss this to see what the odds are. I do think that these 2 are the most likely winners. I also think that neither of them are going to be that great as far as price goes. So you could be a good boy and pass this race if you want to. But listen, we all know you're not passing. So let's get real. All right, let's go to race number 2. Race number 2, unfortunately, once again, is just not a lot of value here. The favorite Skilla, whatever, is the most likely winner. She's going to be 3-5. There's no value in the race. If you want to try to do something with the exactas, let me just pull this up. I had a couple of guys written down here. Let me just see how awful this is to recommend anything this race. Probably pretty awful, but let's take a look. Navy Goat, I thought was pretty good. I mean, just for second at 20-1. All right, so that's something. And then the 4 is going to be too chalky. How about Ganesh? Ugh, not really. What about, I'm in the 10. I looked at that for a second. Yeah, Secret Statement's fine. So if you want, you could play Scylla on top of Navy Goat or on top of Secret Statement. Navy Goat's longer and probably looks a little bit better. So that's what I would suggest. Scylla on top of Navy Goat or pass, which means, of course, Scylla on top of Navy Goat. All right, race number 3. Here I'm asking this theoretical question to give my advice on this race. Can the 2 and the 4, I wrote this down, right? Hold on. Race 3, I read, can the 2 and the 4 beat the 9 and the 11? Did I mean to say something else? Let's just see. Cornishman, Elephant Ear, Anthem King. So Anthem King would be the one I'd be suggesting. So here's the deal. The 9 and the 11 are clearly the 2 most likely winners in the race. But this 4, I think, is really... If the 9 and the 11 don't run, I think you want to have the 4 at 20-1. Let's put it that way. So it depends on how saucy you're feeling. If you want to try the 4, Anthem King, I certainly think it's very reasonable. The 9 and the 11, though, are certainly the most likely winners. They're also going to be the biggest favorites. Man, I'm just looking at this Anthem King on the other board again. And the 2, maybe? Yeah, so the 2 and the 4 are behind the 9 and the 11. And the 2 really isn't that such a great price. So I think Invigorated at 9-2 is pretty strong if you actually get this. But watch for Anthem King. I don't know if I have it in me to put him on top, but certainly in the exactas. Who am I kidding? I'm going to put him on top. All right, race number 4. Race number 4 is just kind of a war here. As a matter of fact, the next 3 races, I would actually say, are all passes. I mean, I wrote down 1, 2, 3, 6, 7. I mean, like this race is a pass. Race 5 is a pass. Race 6 is a pass. I'm sorry. I wish I had something for you. I just kind of don't. And then I have to say that race 7 is kind of a pass as well. I mean, I like the 2, the 3, the 5, the 6, the 9, the 12. I mean, it's nothing really big to discuss here. As I mentioned, the Oaks Day is just better. All right, so I got something for you. So race number 8. Race number 8, I think that you could bet here. Race number 8, I think the most likely winner is the 11, and he is 8-1. Let me just kind of confirm that I like him. Just kind of on the other page here. Not Nash, although Nash is fine. Yeah, this Vlahos is interesting. Here's the thing. He's got to be able to get the distance because his only number is sprinting. So there's definitely some variance there, but he's certainly the fastest horse in the race. So I like him. And then the other ones I like underneath are actually pretty long. So the 3, Northern Flame, the 5, Seize the Gray is long enough, and the 7, Houdet, I like that as well. So let me just confirm Houdet. Yep. So you could either play the 11 on top of 3, 5, 7. 12 is very solid, so you could use the 12 also. Or if you want, if you just haven't bet, like looks like we haven't had a real bet in like 3 or 4 races. We were just kind of we have to get all our money back from all the money that Sheets lost me on Friday. You could box the 2, 3, 5, 6, 9 maybe and toss the 12. But I don't know. I think I'm going to take a shot that the 8 can get the distance and just kind of wire the field here. But we'll see. I'm sorry, 11 with 3, 5, 7, 12. So you use 3, 5, 7, 11, 12. Okay, race number 9. This is again on Derby Day. Wow, these are these long ones? Yeah, these are some long ones. So let me double check these before I recommend this. So the 5 is pretty solid, but we're going to try to beat them here. I might have to get this. Hold on. Hello. Hi. Yeah, I'm on another call. I have to call you back. I know I have to make that appointment. Can I call you back at this number? Oh, great. Okay, so I'll call the number that you guys gave me, actually. Okay, thank you. Okay. Sorry about that. If I was recording, I could pause it, but because we're live, doing whatever. Let me just check and see if there are any questions at this point, by the way. No questions? Good. Okay. No problem. So the 5 is very solid here, but I'm suggesting that there are 3 long shots that can beat him. And that would be the 4, Formidable Man, the 7, Stay Hot, and the 11, who would be Cugino. So let's take a look at that on the other page here just before. This is what is this, race 9? Let's go back up here. So race 9 would be, yeah, Stay Hot looks pretty good. Cugino looks pretty good. I mean, this Cugino looked better than anybody else, though. I don't know. The 8, Lord Bunnington, even, he looks good. I think I must have wrote the names down wrong. Yeah, Stay Hot, I like. Neat is good, too. Let me just look at this again. Formidable Man. Definitely Formidable Man. I think Formidable Man is probably the best. But I do like Cugino as well. So, yeah. So, I would say Legend of Time. Okay, Legend of Time is solid. But I think Formidable Man is extremely strong long shot. So, I would use the 4 and probably the 5 as well because he is solid. And then I would use also the 7 and the 10 and the 11. But Formidable Man would be my key here. I think he's definitely the best value of the bunch. Okay, moving on. Race number 10, unfortunately, is again, kind of a war here. Don't really have any good value for you here. And it's kind of annoying because you'd like to get some action going to the Derby, but it's just not there, Okay, race number 11. This is the the Bourbon Turf Classic. Let me see. Integration. Farbridge. Hold on. This is race 11, right? Race the Golds. Race 11, Saturday. Turf Classic. Why do I have integration over here? Hang on. It is race 11. So, did not like Celis, did not like Farbridge. Program training, I guess, is okay. Okay, so I'm very busy. Clearly the most likely winner. And then Web Slinger I had next. All right, so I'm sorry, I was just kind of all over the place over there. So I'm very busy, 4-1, not bad. But the Web Slinger at 10-1 is almost as likely to win. So what I would do is I would use the two of them together, the 6 and the 7. I'm very busy in Web Slinger, and you can use a little more with Web Slinger. All right, so for the Kentucky Derby, you do have one scratch in there. So let's look at it this way. The most likely winner, as far as I can see, based on the sheets, is the 8-horse Forever. Excuse me, the 11-horse Forever Young. He's got the 11 hole, which is certainly no picnic, especially with a jockey which does not have a lot of experience, I imagine, in 19-horse fields on the dirt in Churchill Downs. So there's definitely some risk, but when it comes to just according to the sheets, who the most likely winner is, to me, it's Forever Young. And in addition to that, there are definitely some bombs that have real shots here. But before we do it, I do have to kind of like address the favorite here. I think that Fierceness, I mean, when I first looked at him, and this was before even his race in the Kentucky, at Gulfstream, where you just kind of knew what he was going to run in that race, and he was completely aired. It's not as if he looks bad per se, but he's got a lot of variance in his line. I don't want to get too into it, but it's one of those situations where if he were long, I would say he looks great, but because he's short, I would say that you're supposed to toss him. He has serious upside in this race where it's possible he wins the race by 7 lengths. But I think given the fact that he's going to be the favorite, I think you're probably better off just kind of tossing him. The other thing I felt I should mention is that before we get into the bombs, that the 8-1 is no bargain either, okay, on Forever Young. I mean, you have 22 horses in the race. And is that 22 betting interests? I think so. Let me just see. Are there 22 betting interests? No, there are only 18 betting interests. No, there are 22 betting interests, I think. So 8-1, it's not that great. He's the most likely winner, but hell, there are horses with shots here. So let's have some fun and talk about some of those. First of all, you guys want a cool bet? My friend Steve kind of turned me on to this. I don't know what odds you can get. Sierra Leone, I don't like at all, and he's 9-2. If you want to bet him to finish last, you could probably get 80-1, something like that. That's cool anti-sweat. But here are some bombs that I think have real shots. Mystic Dan, the 3, 26-1, I think has a shot. Just Steel, 32-1, I think has a shot. The 7, Honor Marie, I think he has a shot. We have Just a Touch, 14-1. He has a shot. Encino is scratched. Stronghold at 40-1, I think is totally reasonable, and Resilience. So there's a lot of ways you can go here. what I think I would recommend is to, and this is not, for the week, but I might box all those horses, like Forever Young as kind of the short one with all those bombs I mentioned, the 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 18. That's like a lot of horses though. So if you wanted, maybe put Forever Young on top of all those and put him in all three positions. I just feel as though for some reason this Forever Young is just a little short. Okay. And I know what you're saying. 8-1, that's short. Yeah, it kind of is. He's definitely the most likely winner. I promise you that. But I just think that I think in the long run, you're better off on stupid shit like Mystic Dan, just all those other horses that I kind of mentioned. So I guess I sort of lied. I mentioned in my recordings yesterday that I did really, really like something in Derby. And now that I'm going through it, it seems like I'm sort of hedgy a little bit. But if for anything, I mean, I do want to toss both Fierceness and Sierra Leone, if that helps. And Forever Young, I guess when you're thinking about it, is actually the third choice. So you're not getting too much value on that. So I would take my chances on these others, I think. Use Forever Young, I guess, but Mystic Dan, Just Steel. Oh my God, all these horses. Anna Marie, Just a Touch. At least Encino is scratched. So now we're only talking about, and then there's Stronghold and Resilience. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 6 horses. Oh my God, alongside of the 11. It's not what I usually do, but I definitely think in pick 3s and pick 4s and pick 5s, pick 6s, those would be the only ones I use. I use those 6 or 7 horses, root against both the favorites, and hope you get lucky. Okay, so in summary, I think that the Oaks Day is significantly better value than Derby Day. So I would go back to what I said about the Oaks horses. And I know it's not what you usually do, but I would be in front of the computer on Friday, check the odds. I would not put any of these bets in early, and take shots there. And then listen, there are a couple of good ones in on Derby Day, but there's just a whole bunch of races that I don't think are good betting races. I think really races 4 through 7 are all bad. So listen, you want to take a shot at the first 3 races and then just go out and enjoy your Saturday a little bit and then come back and degen the rest. I think that's fine. I guess that's pretty much all I have for everybody. I will also say that if you do listen to other content about who they like, they're going to talk about stuff that it makes a lot of sense, but it just doesn't mean anything. You're going to talk about I don't know, like how the race is going to go, how a horse might look in the paddock, what the trainer's record is at the Derby, just all kinds of stupid, unquantifiable stuff. Anything that relates to the racing form or things like that, breeding, dosage, all that's a bunch of nonsense. And I'm not going to debate that with anybody right now, but it just kind of is. And that's pretty much all I have. Again, this has turned in more of a pick video than I wanted it to, but that's just the way it's got to be.